Zack Moss, though, was kind of like, if there was that big five, most looked at him as the six in this class. And he goes to Buffalo, where there's Devin Singletary sitting right there. Do you think he's going to end up forcing a committee? A lot of people are expecting Singletary might blow it up this year. Is Moss going to be good enough to be an anchor, or what do you expect out of this backfield?
Yeah, real quick. I mean, we're in quarantine, Nick. I have literally nothing other to do than to talk football with anyone that will talk football with me.
I love it.
Yeah, I will stay and talk for hours if you let me. But yeah, awesome. I had Zack Moss at RB6 pre-draft, and honestly, I didn't feel great about it. I thought Anthony McFarland was just so much more talented as a player. But look, I mean, there's always a place for inside grinder types, and that's what Zack Moss is. Their GM came out after the draft, and their head coach, the Bills head coach and GM, came out after the draft and said, yeah, we view Zack Moss as the inside grinder, kind of like what Frank Gore was. They think that Singletary is kind of the elusive guy, the make you miss pass catcher, and Zack Moss is the inside grinder. And you know what? I think for Moss as a player, not talking fantasy for a second, but as a player, the fit makes just so much sense. I mean, he's going to need to be behind a pretty good offensive line. I think the Bills have a pretty solid one. I mean, it's not top 10, it's not top 12, but it's definitely not in the bottom 10 or 12 either. Moss just isn't a very creative player. That's really the biggest problem. I mean, he can force missed tackles through contact balance and running through defenders, but I mean, he has less burst than David Montgomery, and that's a big concern. Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, DeAndre Swift were all significantly higher in yards created per attempt on inside the tackle carries than Moss. And, I mentioned it a little bit earlier. Moss can pass protect. He's got he's a pretty good receiver too. He's pretty efficient. He led this class in yards per route run, which should concern you if you're a Devin Singletary owner. But for fantasy, I just don't see anything more of Moss being like, somebody that's going to get like 180 carries this year and probably not much passing game down work, because that should go to Singletary. And when it doesn't go to Singletary, it'll be Josh Allen just running for his life like he always likes to do.
Absolutely. The concern there, though, it sounds like Singletary will be very similarly used to what he was, especially down the stretch, and he started to really light it up. But the goal, the wish, I guess, was everybody wants him to get those touchdowns. Josh Allen's already probably the biggest goal line vulture on that team. I mean, led the league in rushing touchdowns back-to-back years for quarterbacks. Now he's got another guy, like a better version of Frank Gore at this stage of their careers. It makes me nervous for the touchdown upside, but it's not like he's going to just disappear from what he was Singletary at the end of last year either. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm thinking of it. I just love, and me and Scott talked about this when he came on, like, there's just not that bell cow upside now with Singletary. Like, yeah, he'll probably get 60-ish and the receiving work, the most valuable work, but you lose that 3-down trait. And if you're not a 3-down guy, like, do I really care about you at this point anymore?
And not only that, the 3-down stuff is, he's definitely not going to be on the field in all 3 downs. Moss is going to get some early down stuff. But like you mentioned it, Josh Allen's their goal line back. Over the last 2 years, he leads that team. He leads the Bills and carries inside of the 10-yard line. And it's not close. Like they run the ball with Josh Allen when they get in close. And with Singletary, man, like he has like very little touchdown upside now, because when they're not going to run the ball with Allen near the goal line, it'll probably go to Moss first, you would think. I mean, Frank Gore is second. Frank Gore was second on that team the last couple of years and inside the 10 carries. So, yeah, tough day out there for Devin Singletary truthers.
Definitely.